You are about to listen to a free portion of the Young Turks. To podcast the complete show, sign up for membership at tytnetwork.com/membership.
Okay, no Johnny Tie today. Just back to a regular old Johnny
T shirt.
Okay. Yeah, Johnny T shirt. Oh.
No big deal. You can buy it if you want it.
Yeah, shop TYT.com. Bet you're rich.
This could be you.
Okay.
Just the shirt. Don't worry. You're not going to get diabetes or anything.
Okay. All right. Diabetes.
I'm working on it.
Oh, because I was going to say, I thought you were referring to Trump, and Trump, I hear from his doctor, is in tremendous health.
Amazing physical strength beyond the bounds of regular men.
I've heard, that he's in better shape than anyone else on the planet.
Yeah. Well, it's the best shape out of anyone running for president that doctor has ever inspected.
No, okay. Maybe.
Maybe. We don't even know that.
Okay, lots of great stuff for you guys. Here's what I need you not to miss, and that goes double for us. The last story in the first hour. Okay. So I love that story. Okay, so that's going to be in the last segment of this first hour. I'm not even going to tell you what it is. I'm just going to tell you, don't miss it.
I don't even remember what it is.
Okay, all right.
Also, we need you to not freak out.
Yes, that's the other thing we need you not to do. Freak out.
Yeah.
Although there's a good case for it today. But Jimmy's not here to tell you not to freak out. So we'll do the best we can in playing that role for you guys.
Yes.
Okay. Lots of great stories, including Trump now out and out calling for violence. Possible violence, okay?
More widespread violence.
Okay, well, that's fun for everybody, except for when it turns into fun for nobody.
Yeah.
All right, so with that in mind, let's get started. What do you got for us, John?
Okay, we've got the big story of the day. As promised, today, President Obama made his nomination for the Supreme Court, and he chose Merrick Garland, a name that I think very few regular Americans had heard before today. And so, of course, we've got his background information, as well as a few theories as to why it is that Merrick Garland was the nominee. And we're also going to give you the response of Senate conservatives. They're not buying it, but we're going to have examples for you. So some background on Garland. First appointed to the D.C. Circuit in 1997 by President Bill Clinton, Garland has served as the chief judge since 2013. The Senate confirmed Garland originally on a 76-23 vote, with 32 Republicans supporting him. So significant Republican support there originally. Now, on the other hand, we have to consider that his qualifications aren't the only important thing. There's always some other considerations that go into who you choose. And so recently there have been a lot of calls, justifiable calls, to increase various forms of diversity on the Supreme Court. And that's one of the reasons why two of his current Supreme Court nominees that made it onto the Supreme Court were women, one being Hispanic, one being Jewish. And Merrick Garland is a white male, also who went to Harvard. And he's also, by the way, on the older side, which is another important consideration that presidents use when deciding who to nominate. Not since Richard Nixon nominated Lewis Powell in the early 1970s has someone at that age, Powell was 64, Garland is currently 63, been nominated.
So let's pause there for a second. I don't know if this makes me a bad liberal or people are going to get mad at me, but I don't particularly care what race or gender he is. I care only 1,000 times more about his policy positions, because he doesn't vote based on his gender or skin color. Now, I know the good reason for perspectives, and sometimes that perspective informs how you view the world and then hence does affect policy. I understand that completely. But as long as your policy is already formed, and for a lot of justices, especially at the age of 63, we kind of know what we're getting. Okay, so I need the policies to be correct. Because this is not we're having fun and we'll get a little bit more diversity at this party, or even serious issue like party diversity inside an office or a company. This is the Supreme Court of the United States. They make monumentally important decisions like Citizens United. Do you get to bribe our politicians or don't you get to bribe our politicians? So you'll excuse me if I care less about their race or gender than I do about their positions. The one thing I do care slightly about in what you mentioned there is that he's 63, which means that a liberal justice would be on the Supreme Court, if all things being equal, less time than if he was 53. That's a decade more.
Or 49, like another one of the high-profile potential nominees.
Right. Now, that is if he were a liberal justice. And now, having looked at his record, I'm not at all convinced he is.
Not at all convinced.
Yes, and by the way, I do have a tinge of feeling bad about ageism, though, right? Mm-hmm. So, like, if the more accomplished you are, the more experience you have, the closer you get to being eliminated as a possibility for the Supreme Court.
No, we want you to have all that experience. We just want you to get it really, really early.
Yeah, and so I feel that's a little unfair, maybe a lot unfair, to a lot of the great justices in the country. At the same time, there's logic in it, because another decade or two for each side makes a big, big difference.
Makes a gigantic difference. Now, I would say that all else being equal, considering the current composition of the Supreme Court, and especially considering the historic composition, all else being equal, he should increase diversity. I mean, you have to bear in mind that he has significantly increased the diversity with his other appointments. And also, everything isn't equal. He doesn't have 1,000 different nominees to consider. He has to thread a million different needles that have been thrown up unnecessarily by the Republicans on trying to find someone who has some small chance of actually being confirmed. And it could very well be that there were other considerations that he would have loved to have made that would have added diversity of various different kinds, and they just wouldn't have had a chance. And you should also bear in mind, as we're going to get to, he's not necessarily nominating Garland because he thinks Garland is going to get on. He might be doing it to pave the way for someone else, someone more liberal, someone who would increase diversity on the court.
Sure, I know. I've been waiting 7 years for those more liberal positions. So,
well, they brought up Sandoval.
Yeah, they brought up a Republican as a possibility. They didn't nominate him, okay?
Exactly, but that could be part of a strategy.
Yeah, or it could be that he really likes center-right people because he's center-right.
Okay, don't freak out, Cenk, okay?
Okay, I'm about to in a second.
Now, I want to talk about one of his important positions that he's being attacked by the right on as being far too liberal, and that has to do with the Heller case, of course, having to do with personal ownership of firearms. And so Garland voted to reconsider the Heller case, in which a 3-judge panel struck down the District of Columbia's strict ban on handgun possession. Garland didn't succeed, and the case went to the U.S. Supreme Court, where in a 5-4 decision, the personal right to own handguns was upheld. And that is now being pitched as a confirmation of the far right's view of what the Second Amendment is, in their minds, supposed to mean. And so he was against that. And there's one or two other gun cases that they're saying show that he's an absolute anti-gun nut. When you actually look into the details, that's not exactly how it works out. But you are not convinced by that and his other positions. And I have read many on the right who have said that he is fairly conservative. On criminal justice, I forget who it was, but they said SCOTUS blog had a citation that said that he was to the right of Scalia.
Yeah. No. You're going to make me say it? I hate this pick. Hate it. Okay. Hate it. Okay, so let's be clear, all right? So, number one, on this NRA thing, they say a conservative magazine criticized him for voting against the National Rifle Association. So what did you want us to do? Pick the most right-wing judge in the country from a Democratic president? Mm-hmm. Give you every single thing you want? Of course a Democratic president would pick someone who would vote against the NRA. What the hell else would he do?
Yeah. I was hoping that they
would... No, but what a preposterous demand. What an insane demand. The fact that we're negotiating with these terrorists is insanity, okay? Let's not call them terrorists, let's call them hostage takers, right? They've taken the Supreme Court...
Pedophiles.
No, come on. No, I'm being serious, right? No, I'm not saying they beat their wife. I'm not making this stuff up. They have taken this seat hostage. Now, normally, they say, we should let the American people decide. Well, I got good news for you. They did. They elected President Obama. They didn't elect him for a 3-year term. They elected him a 4-year term.
2 4-year terms.
Okay, that's how it works. Now,
and they elected him to the 2nd term after knowing what sort of justices he chooses when a spot opens up on the Supreme Court.
So I'm not having a conversation with the Republicans on what they would like, okay? And I'm not having a conversation, my pick didn't vote with the NRA. You're goddamn right he doesn't vote with the NRA. That's why I picked him. If you won, Mitt Romney could have picked someone who does agree with the NRA. Too bad he didn't win, and the American people decided that Obama should be president. Okay. Now, secondly, they went and tried to find a liberal position of his. The only one they could find was that he's against the NRA. That's the only one they could find to criticize.
I don't think that that's necessarily the only one.
No. I haven't seen it yet. So I hope Obama is not this
He was a clerk for Brennan.
No, that doesn't mean anything. That doesn't mean anything.
It doesn't mean nothing.
No, John, it means nothing. Let me explain, okay? So first of all, Brennan was a million years ago. At that point, Hillary, I'm serious. At that point, decades ago, 4 decades ago, Hillary Clinton was a Republican helping Barry Goldwater. I was barely alive. But okay, but when I was younger, I was a Republican. Now, 40 years ago doesn't mean anything. Larry Lessig, esteemed Harvard law professor, clerked for Justice Scalia. Justice Scalia is massively right-wing. Larry Lessig is not.
That's true.
Decidedly not right-wing, okay?
Yeah,
so
I'm
who
not
you
saying he's a
clerk
liberal.
for means almost nothing, okay? Yeah. They have to go back 40 years to find something liberal he did, okay? So now...
You realize I'm not making the case that he should be on the Supreme Court.
I know. But this is all a lot of horse crap from this administration that's so... appeases Republicans. We'll put them in a bad spot by agreeing with them 90%. We got you. No, you didn't get them, you got us. So the most important question here, let's just cut to the chase. What is his view on Citizens United? It's the one thing that affects everything else, and the Supreme Court decides it. Do we know?
I actually don't know.
We don't know. We don't know. So they say, do you have a litmus test? You know what I'd say if they asked me that? Goddamn right I got a litmus test.
Well, I would say I have 10 to 15.
Of course, you don't get... What is this conversation about? Like, hey, why don't you pick our guy? No, you pick your guy, I pick my guy. Okay, that's why I became president. That's the conversation I would have, right? So then what do I look for? Okay, so he's a prosecutor. So the right wing loves him on how harsh he is on criminals. Great. That'll help criminal justice reform. Now, he's went after terrible guys. Yeah, terrible guys. And maybe the Republicans don't like him because he went after right-wing terrorists. Because he did. He helped prosecute Tim McVeigh, the Olympic bomber, Eric Rudolph, who's an abortion clinic bomber. He put those guys behind jail. He went after Unabomber. Unabomber's not right-wing. He's a nut. The other two were literally right-wing terrorists, so maybe they don't like it. They get touchy with it.
I would say more that he went after white terrorists. Because I would say that non-white terrorists also generally right-wing.
Okay, so that's true too. Okay, but there I'm needling them. Okay, so that's not the real issue with them. Okay, so you look at, all right, if he's such a tough on crime, doesn't care about criminal justice reform, put away. The only thing you could find that's a liberal position is that he kind of doesn't like the NRA. Okay, then I look for what's the most important thing. What does the Chamber of Commerce think? Because the Chamber of Commerce and several other business groups, including the National Association of Manufacturers, they tell you, is the guy pro-corporate going to give us everything we want or not? They have decided that they're going to stay out of this fight. You know what that means? Green light.
Yeah.
Okay, so now let's talk about what some more indications about how he's going to rule in that way. R. Bruce Johnston is a top lobbyist at the Chamber of Commerce. He says, this quote is damning. Not of Garland, of the whole system. He says, when you look at the business issues, whether it's Ruth Bader Ginsburg or Samuel Alito, it has not mattered much.
Yeah.
So those are the liberal justices that went on to agree with corporate America 1,000%.
Yeah.
That's why this Supreme Court has been the most pro-corporate Supreme Court in United States history. It's not just the conservatives. Bill Clinton and Obama, what did? They packed the court with pro-corporate. By the way, one of the reasons is they almost all worked in corporate America. They worked for white shoe law firms that worked for corporations, including Garland. He worked at one of those as well. And then Johnston finishes the quote by saying, they've all had pretty strong established record of being level-headed with decisions they have come to regarding business matters.
It means empty-headed.
No, that means...
Like they don't question.
They do what they're told.
Yeah. Well, and that's what you get from packing the lower court, or I would say filling the lower courts, because I actually hate the way that packing is used now, with pro-corporate judges for 10, 15, 20 years. And then when you go to find, who's qualified, who has the experience, that's who has the experience, because that's all the judges.
So it's nothing against Garland personally. I'm sure he's a lovely guy. And I get it.
And it would be a massive improvement over Antonin Scalia if it came down to that.
No, I don't know that. It might
I feel fairly.
No, it might be a marginal improvement over Antonin Scalia. I mean, look, Orrin Hatch, one of the most conservative guys in the United States Senate, deeply Republican senator from Utah, said the Republicans couldn't ask for a better pick. Literally, he said that in the earlier confirmations, not about this, right? Now they're all obstructionists. But he said we literally couldn't find a judge that we would like more from a Democratic president.
Would Dick Cheney not do it?
Okay, so if Orrin Hatch is beside himself with joy over this selection, again, in an earlier confirmation proceeding, but obviously goes to how much Republicans love this guy, then maybe a Democratic president should think twice over it. And don't get me wrong, it's not just Obama. It's the entire pathetic Democratic establishment in Washington. All the groups have gotten together, they did their cute little calls, and they decided to be so clever to trick the Republicans by picking someone they 90% agree with. That's not clever. You fight for your position. You don't, look, if you're in the minority, you say, okay, by hook or by crook, I got to fight. You're the president. They're not the president. You're the president. And they say, oh, but we're going to take the fight to the American people. Cenk, oh, you don't understand. We're playing three-dimensional chess. And we have those 7 open seats on the Republican side. 5 of them are vulnerable. And Kelly Ayotte and Kirk in Illinois have decided that they're already going to meet with him. Wow.
Yeah, there's like 7 that say they'll meet with him.
No, but you see, the argument for you have to give this guy a vote doesn't have anything to do with how Republican he is. It has to do with a president is elected for 4 years. If you block it, you're an obstructionist, and you're the one causing the problem in Washington. You're the one causing the gridlock. That is not at all affected by the ideology of the pick.
I totally agree with you, but the decision to make the case to the American people might not be affected to it, but the effectiveness of the decision to take it to the American people could very well be. So the idea is, and look, again, I don't want this guy in the Supreme Court. But if you take it to the American people and you try to put pressure on the senators that are currently up for re-election, you try to put pressure on the Republicans who are trying to get those Senate seats to put pressure on Senate, saying I might not win if you guys are opposing someone. Like if it was some crazy liberal or something like that, then he could run based on that's who I have to stop. It's actually the opposite of putting pressure. It's actually making it in some ways easier for the Republican. Not necessarily in certain states, but in certain states John, it would make it easier for them.
John, what's our best case scenario? That a guy who's 90% conservative makes it onto the Supreme Court?
No, I don't think that is our best case scenario.
That is now. That's our best case scenario. No, three-dimensional chess.
The best case scenario is that theoretically you drag this out. They do lose Senate seats based on it. They don't confirm him. A Democratic president wins and then gets to choose a more liberal justice, saying we gave you the opportunity for a centrist. You got fucked up over it. The American people made it clear that they want someone more liberal, and then we get someone more liberal. That's the best case scenario. You can't shake your head. You can say that's not what he's doing, but you can't say that that's not better.
Okay, no, but John, so let's understand one of the things that's happening here. A lot of the analysts have pointed out that actually the best case scenario for them, for Obama and the so-called genius Democrats in Washington that love to play 8-dimensional chess is, we press them on this, they lose the Senate seats, we proved you were an obstructionist. Again, you could do that either way. It doesn't depend on his ideology at all.
No, but they still have to lose the seats, though.
I know, but that's the best case scenario.
I understand that, but again, I'm saying their chances of losing the seats are not independent of who the candidate is.
I think it is. I don't
think that it is.
No, wait, look. No. In fact, I'm going to argue the opposite, that this pick is counterproductive for keeping those Senate seats. Why? It validates right-wing thinking. Yes, if you're a Democrat, you should bow your head and pick someone who is generally right-wing. Well, then you're saying the right wing is right. Don't say that. Say we're right. Wow, what a revolutionary idea. Say, I picked the most liberal justice in America. You know why? Because the liberal position is the correct one, and I need to help the American people by putting a liberal in there. Now, you have to admit that Democrats in Washington would never do that because they don't believe. They don't believe.
Not Obama.
They don't believe that the liberal position is the correct position.
I agree.
They don't believe that the American people. No, they don't believe that the American people are actually center-left. They don't
you're
believe.
disagreeing with me when I'm agreeing with you. I don't understand why you're disagreeing with me.
No, because you're saying that you can pick up more Senate seats if you put in a right-winger.
I'm not saying this is the strategy I would use. I'm explaining why they're using this strategy.
And I'm explaining why they're morons that keep operating out of weakness and out of terrible framing. So now, last thing on this guy. Okay, so far, the only thing is we assume he's pro-choice. I mean, if he isn't pro-choice, I'm going to laugh and laugh as I cry over the results. I'm going to laugh at every stupid-ass Democrat in Washington who thinks, let's pick a right-winger, it'll be clever, right? But let's give it to him. Let's assume he's pro-choice, and he's against the NRA. we have evidence of no other liberal positions. No. So you're going to take a guy who's 100% pro-corporate on his record, 100% in favor of this criminal justice system on his record, and then you can say, oh, but he's pro-choice. Didn't I win?
Well,
you didn't
I have
win.
no idea. But
you didn't win. That's a massive loss.
Yeah. Hypothetically, a devil's advocate, I would assume that Obama has more information about his voting record and his personal philosophy than we do.
Yeah, and I have more information on Obama's personal philosophy.
Yeah.
And his personal philosophy is go Republican first, go Republican second, and then maybe I'll get to a liberal.
On a number of different issues. On some social issues, Obama is still a liberal. He's not going to put a guy who's going to overturn Roe v. Wade on the Supreme Court.
I know. I gave it to him.
Like, he loves playing three-dimensional chess.
Thank you for not overturning Roe v. Wade as a Democratic president. Aren't you so munificent? Okay, and so
I didn't say he deserves credit based on it. I'm simply saying he's not going to do that.
Finally, okay, the brilliant strategy that I was alluding to earlier from the analysts is, in a best-case scenario, they're right. They further solidify right-wing thinking, but that somehow leads to Republicans losing their Senate seats. Okay, I'm giving that to them in their best-case scenario. And then you think, all right, great, well, they blocked Garland, so now you're going to appoint a liberal. No. No. We have to be clear what their plan is. Their plan is then you appoint him in a lame duck session. So either way, the guy's going on the court.
That is one way the plan could go. You just shake your hand at me as if I don't already understand this, as if I don't get it. I understand that, and I don't want that to happen.
Okay.
And that is a possibility. I don't think it's necessarily an incredible possibility.
Why? But that's their plan. So why do I have to come up with a plan?
No, that's speculation about their plan. We don't know that that's their plan.
I know he got nominated. I know he got nominated. Did a liberal get nominated? No. I know that a guy who doesn't have almost any liberal position got nominated, and I'm supposed to make a case for what a genius move that is. I'll leave that to the idiot Democratic organizations in Washington who are so happy with this choice. Oh, we got the Republicans. They can't deny him because they think he's the best justice. Well, oh shit, the Republicans think he's the best Democratic justice in the country. I wonder why they think that. You didn't put any thoughts behind that? And are you telling me you put him up to lose? I know, but you don't know Obama. You think Obama's going to wait for a more liberal justice? No, the minute he gets a chance with the lame duck session. Yeah. Garland it is. Go pro-corporate all the way. Citizens United, I don't know.
Yeah, I agree, and that's why I've said about 30 times now I don't want him to be the nominee. I also, by the way, think that, look, maybe you've talked to people I haven't, but I think that you're overstating how happy other Democrats are about this. Incredibly high-profile Democrats are frustrated about a million different ways about him being the nominee.
I haven't talked to anybody.
Obviously, Obama has some.
I've seen in articles that all the Democratic bigwigs and that are in all the different progressive organizations are working in great harmony on this.
Well, I've yet to see that. That's possible, but I haven't seen that in my research.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. So we can agree he'll be a good justice. Okay, let me ask you this. Let's say hypothetically Hillary Clinton was president. Do you think that she would nominate Garland?
No.
You think she'd go more liberal?
Yes.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why. Because I grant that they think that they're doing this for political reasons, right? I think that if it was the first year of Obama, he would have picked someone more liberal, okay?
And he has picked people more liberal.
That's because I was just about to say, that's because he already has, right? Now, mind you, those liberals are almost completely pro-corporate anyway, right? Because that's who Obama is. So if you're waiting for him to be a champion of workers' rights or the rights of American citizens versus the corporate machines that rule us all, you got the wrong guy. That ain't Obama, okay? But on social issues, his picks have been decidedly liberal. Great, okay? At least on that front, all right? So that if Hillary Clinton, who is incredibly similar to Obama, if it was her first year and she had a chance to pick, she would pick someone, I think, on social issues more liberal, who would also be very pro-corporate. Okay, that's exactly
more than likely. Yeah, I agree.
Okay, so that's not Garland. That's someone else, and they'd probably think about gender and race and all of that stuff. And they think they're being clever here, but it's the same mistake they've made 1,000 times. Let's agree with the Republicans and show the country how wrong they are. Yeah, that's genius.
Yeah. Well, okay, I want to run the video because I want to put some of your fears at rest, since it doesn't look like he's going to get a hearing, let alone a vote. Here is Mitch McConnell talking about the possibility that he will actually end up on the Supreme Court.
Of course, the American people should have a say in the court's direction. It is a president's constitutional right to nominate a Supreme Court justice, and it is the Senate's constitutional right to act as a check on a president and withhold its consent. As Chairman Grassley and I declared weeks ago and reiterated personally to President Obama, the Senate will continue to observe the Biden rule so that the American people have a voice in this momentous decision. Our view is this: give the people a voice in filling this vacancy.
That is
great.
the fakest thing I've ever heard from a senator.
No, I agree with Mitch McConnell.
Which part?
We should give the American people a voice in filling the seat. They should get to pick the president. Oh, right, they did.
Oh, they did.
Okay, and the president serves for 3 years, right?
Yeah, 3 years. Well, especially in the second, maybe 2.5 years in the second term.
Oh, wait, I'm hearing that the president actually serves for 4 years.
Yeah.
Well, what a lucky break for us. Mitch McConnell agrees that American people should get the pick, and they did. They picked the president to serve for 4 years, and fully within his constitutional power, not a little bit, the core of his constitutional power is to nominate a Supreme Court justice, which is what he's doing. So I assume we agree that we can move forward.
Yeah, and look, John McCain said that you can't do this when you're a lame duck, and so I brought up PDF, the Constitution, and I searched for lame duck, and I couldn't find it in the Constitution. Seems like it's actually just bullshit that people make up.
I thought you guys were strict constructionists.
Yeah.
I don't see lame duck anywhere in the Constitution. I see 4 years in the Constitution. Strict construction, motherfuckers.
And it gives the Senate the ability, as Mitch McConnell says there, to withhold their consent. I don't think anyone, including Mitch McConnell, believes that it was withhold your consent for as long as you'd like for no reason other than politics. I'm pretty sure that's not why they put that in the Constitution. And so they're saying they're not going to actually have hearings, let alone a vote. There's something like 7 Republican senators who have said that they will at least meet with him, if not have a hearing. And who knows what's going to happen. On both the left and the right, there are people planning in advance of the nomination being announced to hold protests around the country to run ads and things like that. And it will be, regardless of who the nominee is, an election issue.
Okay, I have got to give you a quote from Orrin Hatch to tell you how much...
Oh, I have a bunch of those quotes if you want.
I know. We've got dozens of quotes from Republicans saying how awesome Garland is when 32 of them voted for him in earlier proceedings to put him in the federal system in the first place. But Orrin Hatch, one of the most conservative senators in the country, said about Merrick Garland, I believe he is not only a fine nominee, but is as good as Republicans can expect from this administration. In fact, I would place him at the top of the list. So here's a guy who is at the top of the Republican wish list in a Democratic administration. Okay. So they're saying we literally could not do any better than this guy. And yet they still block him.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I know
they're not merciful.
Yeah, I know that that's the game that the Democratic Party is playing. We'll pick someone you love and then make you block him. Again, I don't think that's clever, but the one thing you have to give that strategy is, yes, it does make the Republicans look like the worst obstructionists we have ever seen in Washington, D.C. Now, if they can't bludgeon them with this, then they are really incompetent as a party and should just retire the party.
I find reading any of the recent quotes or watching the video of them talking about Obama nominating someone to be about as insufferable as anything outside of a Donald Trump speech. When they say that he's trying to pack the court by filling seats. And they say that about the lower levels too. Packing the court is literally creating new seats on the Supreme Court and putting more people on it, not just filling the spot. And also they say that considering that theoretically the ideological balance of the court is going to shift for a long time, which is 100% true, the American people should be able to, you can't possibly do it until there's another election. Man, they replaced Thurgood Marshall with Clarence Thomas. And they get to talk about how conservative Scalia's replacement needs to be. It was not only a massive shift in ideology of the court, it was also spitting in the face of every liberal, every African American in the country. It was a direct insult to liberalism and the Democratic Party. And they think that they should get some sort of weird clone of Dick Cheney combined with Clarence Thomas.
But the fault here is with the media. Because when they say, hey, conservative justices should be replaced with conservative justices, the media has to point out that is historically not remotely true, it's not constitutionally true, it's not true in any shape or way. So if you don't do that as the media, if you don't point that out, you don't question the Republicans on that, well, you're miserable at your job. Okay, what you do is you're a lapdog and you just go, he said, she said. I don't know what facts are. Now, if you say I don't know what facts are as a journalist, you're pretty bad at your job.
Yeah.
So now that's point one, and it is indisputable. There is no rule about a conservative justice replacing a conservative or a liberal justice.
If it has
replacing
ever
a liberal.
happened, it's coincidence.
That's right.
And that's it.
It's not a rule. It's not a thing that exists. Okay. Second of all these.
It's not even a tradition. It is simply you coincidentally have a Republican or a Democrat when a spot opens up. That's all it is. You will never in your life, from now until the day you die, see a conservative Republican president put a hardcore liberal up, if by anything other than accident, for a spot on the Supreme Court. That they turn out to be liberal later on. They would never do it intentionally.
There is no such thing as the president can't appoint someone in a lame duck year.
Doesn't exist.
That's not a thing that exists. And in fact, in 1987, the Republicans did it. They nominated Kennedy in 88 in an election year. They confirmed him. I believe it was 97-0. So that is not true. It's not a he said, she said. It's not, this is their position. This is, if you're a journalist, you're supposed to do your job and bring out the facts, not I'm scared to tell Republicans that what they're saying isn't true.
Yeah.
So now on at least 4 different issues here in this particular case, there are very clear facts. When they do obstruction that is going to hold out a Supreme Court nominee for 3 times longer than any nominee has ever been held up, that is record-breaking obstruction and must be reported as such. If you say the Republicans say this and Democrats say that, you're a miserable failure at being a journalist. Because a journalist isn't supposed to be neutral to the facts. They're supposed to be objective about the facts. They're not supposed to be neutral to the parties and be scared to death of calling out politicians. They're supposed to be watchdogs of the government and call out politicans on any side that are not showing the people facts. Okay?
Yeah.
That's your job. And I guarantee you they will not do it.
Nope.
They'll be scared to death to call the Republicans what they are in this case, with very specific instances, liars. Okay, now
Use hostage takers.
Now I know that NBC and ABC and CBS and all these guys, they would wet themselves before they'd call a Republican a liar. Oh my God, that seems so biased to actually say the truth, right? Now, if someone is lying about something, that's what you call them a liar. But I know you're not going to do that. But I'm not asking you to do that. And I'm not asking for your opinion on Roe versus Wade or Citizens United. I'm asking you to report facts. So in every case, when a Republican says, president doesn't appoint in a lame duck years, it is your job as a journalist to say that is not true, okay? When they say a conservative always replaces a conservative, it is your job as a journalist to say that is not true. That is counterfactual, not true. Now, are you going to do your job? Are you going to do your job? The answer is, and I know it already, no, you're not. You're going to say, he said, she said, I'm scared, I'm going to run for the hills.
Gotta hate the media. Okay. We got another story later on in the hour that's going to make you hate them even more.
All right, by the way, the super last thing here, and then we got to go, and I'm going to tell you who might be the next Republican president, who's not even running. The fact that I can't stand this pick, and real liberals and progressives should have massive issues with Garland, Obama's going to love it. You think that bothers him? You think that bothers him? He's going to be like, yes, liberals hate my pick. It must be so good. Mm-hmm. I nailed it. I got a moderate. I got a pro-corporate center-right guy.
We got it.
Liberals don't like it. Yeah.
And look, in the background, Obama's like, meh.
Yeah, there you go. By the way, if you think I'm exaggerating, wait. You will see, I'll predict it ahead of time. The press secretary or someone that represents the White House will say a quote, mark it down, okay, will say a quote saying, well, liberals don't like him or liberals oppose him, conservatives oppose him, so he must be great. They will say something to that effect.
If everybody hates him, he must be great. But you're freaking out and you shouldn't freak out. I predict that by June 7th, a liberal justice will have passed him and will be on the Supreme Court.
Okay, I can't wait. Okay. They are going to, the Obama administration is going to brag about how some progressives don't like him. They're not going to see that as a mark of shame. They're going to see it as a mark of great pride. Progressives didn't like our pick. Yes! That's what's going to happen. Okay, let's take a break and tell you how Paul Ryan might be the next president of the United States. All right, back on the Young Turks. Members of the day are Arturo Guerrero, is member number 451. I'm getting a little carried away, right? That's too much? What do you think? All right, everyone stop me when you get a chance, okay? Okay. Member number 452 is Christopher Garland. Wait a minute. Christopher Garland. I wonder if they're related to the Supreme Court nominee. Okay. All right. Thank you, guys. TYTnetwork.com/join to become a member and make this show happen. Amber the Brave writes in, F yeah, Francis Maxwell and Hannah Cranston. I'm going to enjoy the second hour.
Yeah.
That's what I like to hear.
Okay.
How much do I owe?
All right.
What's her name?
Amber the Brave.
What's up, Amber?
She sounds Scottish.
Yeah, it sounds like Amber the Brave. Amber the Brave.
That's right.
For you.
Exactly. Speaking of which, Mr. Red Penguin says, Francis Maxwell's accent sounds like he'd never sound stupid, even if he said, I believe in the corn on the cob God. Say it.
You know, what do they say? Corn on the cob, God?
There you go. See? He sounds smart
It's
saying
both
it,
a
right?
blessing and a curse, by the way.
I hear you. Jeremy Varner says, I'm sorry, but stealing from North Korea is eligible for a Darwin Award. When he gets out, he should try kicking a bear on the balls. Okay. We know that didn't work out very well for...
Leonardo DiCaprio.
Exactly. Okay. But yes, it was not a bright thing to do, but we're still allowed to feel sorry for the kid.
Yeah.
Okay, and finally, Gwen Page. Oh, we're right back to this. After last night, I finally did it. I joined TYT as a member. TYT gives me hope in our future of journalism. Thank you. We appreciate
That's a nice
it.
message.
And if you'd like to join her, TYTnetwork.com/join. All of us together, we are the new media. I did an interview today earlier where I explained, yeah, it's a whole new media, right? This way we don't have to rely on any other outside corporate forces. We just rely on these guys, and they don't want us to be lapdogs. They want us to be watchdogs. So now we can go after the government, right? And a reporter was like, oh, that sounds pretty good. I almost sensed are you hiring? Well, TYTnetwork.com/join so we can hire more of those good journalists. Okay, what's next, Hannah?
All right. So a recall has been issued for a popular toy truck after a Florida mom discovered a sign of pedophilia on her daughter's toy. Now, mom Nicole O'Kelly bought the pink truck for her 2-year-old daughter at a Monster Jam event in the Tampa area. Now, the symbol is a heart surrounded by a larger heart, and it's a secret code for pedophiles. It signals that a female child is ready to be trafficked for sex. Now, you're seeing here a picture of the symbol on the truck. Now, the company, Feld Inc., has released a statement. They said, we're shocked. We had no idea. We reacted immediately. We wanted to do the right thing as quickly as possible. Clearly, we're in the business with providing high-quality family entertainment. This was really obscure. Until yesterday, I had no idea there was an underlying meaning of these symbols and the deplorable behavior. We just want to make sure it doesn't happen again. Now, obviously, I'm assuming you guys were as shocked by this symbol as I was because it looks innocuous enough. And so I kind of looked into other symbols that might be similar. And so I want to pull some of those up. This picture here is for apparently for boy lovers. They're supposed to sort of, I guess, indicate their preference as well as their sexuality. The next one here is for little boy lovers. And yes, apparently there are more. These were released in an FBI sort of document that was released on WikiLeaks, which is where I got them. But obviously, you know, we see some of these symbols every day. Like the Good Humor brand is a double heart. Roxy is a double heart.
So wait, first of all,
yes.
If you already knew these symbols, if you're not working for the FBI or read the story, there might have been an issue, right? Yeah. So I'm glad none of us knew the symbols. But what do they mean? Like the little boy lover I get, the hearts I get. What does boy lover mean?
So boy lover is just, I think, a way to express that they have an affinity for boys. And then I think little boys takes it to a younger level.
Okay.
Right.
Okay, so it's not like just saying I'm gay. It's no, I want younger boys.
Yes.
Yeah, right,
and it's not like, so I think this story's being blown out of proportion, obviously, because I don't think this company knew that this was a sign of pedophilia, but also because they were saying, you know, oh, that this was marking my daughter for sex trafficking. And that's not really what the symbols are used for. It's more to raise awareness within those communities and to sort of I think, create some sort of solidarity. It says they want to increase social acceptance for adult-child sexual relations, and that's why they'll put them on rings and pendants so that if you are in that community and you see somebody, it's some sort of form of community.
So in essence, Hannah, it's supposed to be a way for them to know, hey, we're in this community without really letting anybody else know.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So I cannot imagine a worse marketing mistake for a toy company to make than putting this symbol on.
Yeah. I mean, props, first of all, to the mother's older daughter who spotted the sign, and it was because she is a Law and Order Special Victims Unit fan and seen that through that. Okay. So that was the way she was, so maybe get another Sherlock Holmes on her hands. Nonetheless, you made the point for me, which I was going to make, is we all made the point, is we were like, I never realised that. And we're not supposed to realise that, right? But you think maybe there should be some sort of media coverage or something to try and warn the toy manufacturers of this potentially being alarming, right? So maybe, because we had to go through, 3 or 4 links after this article to try and find those images. To me, of course, if it was leaked, maybe they didn't want those images getting out because then more people would maybe misconvey what it actually meant. Nonetheless, now that we know this, it should be brought to light to manufacturers of toy companies at least, so that they understand and are aware that this is an issue.
But then are you going to say that no company can ever put anything with 2 hearts that are on top of each other? I mean, it's obviously it's important that we're bringing this to light, and it's unfortunate that this was a mistake on the branding part of the company. But at the same time, I don't think it's like, never draw 2 hearts on top of each other because this community has this meaning. And I have a friend who actually works very closely with human trafficking and sex trafficking victims. And I called her. I'm like, what are these symbols? Are there other symbols? She's like, I've never even heard of that. So it's not so ubiquitous that everybody in the community is aware of it. But obviously, some people are aware of it, and it's important to know. But I don't think we need to let that inform all of our decisions from here on out.
Now, I'm going to be a little judgmental here, and I think I'm allowed in this case, but can you imagine being a part of a shittier community? I'm part of the community that likes to have sex with young children. Oh, for God's sake. Okay. Communities are usually a good thing. That community?
Yeah.
But inside their own bubble, they're convinced. They're like, we've been having sex with kids ever since we were cavemen. So that's that old argument cavemen used to eat dirt. Somebody, but cavemen died when they were 21. Yeah. Right? So there's a lot of improvements we've made since then. Some of that idea, the things and cavemen really murdered a lot of people in their path. We don't do that either. There's a lot of things we don't do anymore. So there's a lot of bad ideas there. But one more comment on this is, I'm with you, Hannah. The little boy lover one that you put up, that one is so specific and so weird looking that if you put that somewhere, it'd go, wait a minute, it looks like you're intending to do something.
Right.
But the 2 hearts, who would know, right? So
it looked exactly like the ice cream one. Do you know the ice cream, Good Humor I'm talking about? It looks exactly like the ice cream bar.
So this is an innocuous mistake. Yeah, I get it. Obviously, they're going to have to clean it up, and I feel bad for the company.
Right.
But it's not like they put the little boy one on, and they're like, we didn't know.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't think I mean that everyone needs to start branding it a different way. They need to change their logo. I just think it could be useful for more people to be aware that these symbols may exist, right? Because if you maybe... you would rather be on the safe side of being understanding that those may exist and they may be part of some weird, creepy cult for pedophiles. Yes, I pronounce it funny. To be part of that community. Nonetheless, if you're a parent, you might still want to have that in the back of your mind at any point. It's not going to sculpt the way you're buying stuff in the future or toys and you're going to be investigating every logo. But you'd rather be safe than sorry because the ultimate sorry is the ultimate price, right? If you end up caught up in something that you might not understand or you might not be aware of. And none of us are really aware of it, and I don't think a lot of people are until a story like this emerges.
Yeah, I agree with your take on this controversy. All right, what's next?
Moving on. So Forever 21 has removed a controversial t-shirt from their website after customers complained that it was making light of the issue of consent. Now here you're seeing a picture of the t-shirt that retails for $19.90 that reads, "Don't say maybe if you want to say no." Now, people obviously took to Twitter based off that message and said, "Hey, Forever 21, we think you should hashtag stop victim blaming and pull this shirt from your stores." Somebody else said, Forever 21 is selling a shirt that says, don't say maybe if you want to say no. How about don't do something if you don't hear a yes? Now, obviously, following some of this backlash to their shirt, they have removed the shirt from their site and they released a statement. Forever 21 strives to exemplify the highest ethical standards and takes feedback and product concerns very seriously. With regards to the t-shirt in question, upon receiving feedback from our customers, we took immediate action to have it removed from our website. We sincerely apologize to anyone who was offended by the product. Now, if you go to the website now, you can see it as sold out. So it just makes it look a little bit more popular. They didn't totally remove it. But obviously, I think this message is... we covered this story on Think Tank this morning with Jason, so another TYT Sporters.
Sports on the map.
Exactly. I'm so sporty. But so we covered this story, and we couldn't think of any other meaning that could be behind this shirt.
I kind of have one.
I think as well.
Okay. Let's
you
hear
want
it.
to go first?
Go ahead.
All right, thanks. I'm trying to think about it rationally, right? So I imagine this shirt is aimed at young males. So I understand, for one, completely against it. It's so insensitive, and it should have been discussed in a boardroom. I would like to know how this went through the process of getting to being published in the first place. But for instance, like maybe young males maybe are caught up in decision-making processes in their life that they don't want to go ahead, and it's kind of like speaking to them. Don't say maybe to do drugs if you just really want to say no. Don't say maybe to do this if you want to say no. Now, nonetheless, that being still the farthest-fetched example of this, when it has the slightest ambiguity to it that it can be related to any sort of rape issue or sexual abuse in a culture today that uses examples such as she was asking for it, and she said yes first and no, you have to be smarter. You have to be smarter as a company like Forever 21 in putting that forward, because even if you do think and your idea is that it has a different meaning, you've got to think about it contextually. How is someone who's been involved in a situation involving rape going to take that t-shirt? How are they going to respond to that? And especially for Forever 21, who's targeted primarily at young millennial girls. That's in young girls who shop there. It's only going to portray a negative image for me. And I try to look at it rationally and think that that could be the example, but I still think the negatives overweigh that.
Yeah. Let me defend that statement before I go on to condemn the shirt even more than you guys.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So I could envision me saying this to my daughter. Okay. Now, so I would want to be very clear with her. You got all the right in the world to lay down the law and say what you want and what you don't want. In fact, I want you doing that, right? I want there to be complete clarity, because I don't want any wiggle room for a guy to say he misinterpreted you or to do something that you don't want, right? So be very clear. So I can say this to my daughter, right? But you can't put it on a shirt. Okay, here's a number.
Shirt.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. So here's the thing, and as we talked about this morning in the production meeting, if this was a shirt for women that said, and you put it on your own shirt, don't say maybe if you want to say no. This could be a pretty empowering message. But because it's on a guy's shirt, it's basically like, well, if you say maybe, I can't confirm what's going to happen or not. Like, you're kind of asking for it. If you just give me a maybe and you don't make it completely positive, no. And it immediately, as soon as I saw this graphic tee, it reminded me of the Yale case when they said no means yes and yes means anal or whatever. I thought it was in the same vein as that, really promoting that rape culture like that you brought up.
Yeah, and it is an ambiguous case, because I don't think that Forever 21 thought that was the message that they were going to convey.
No, that's
the thing. It's like
that's where I disagree. That's why I want to condemn them more than you guys are. Okay, so first of all, the first thing I look to see, is it on a guy or is it on a woman, right?
Right.
It's on a guy. It's a guy's T-shirt.
Yeah.
It's not aimed at women. It's aimed at guys going, oh, don't say maybe, I'm going to take it as a yes, right? Forever 21, before they make these decisions, it goes through many layers of management. And you're telling me no one in management thought, hey, red flag, let's think this through. No. They're not that stupid, okay, to use, again, the immortal words of Marco Rubio. Okay, I want to dispel the notion that they didn't know what they were doing. They knew exactly what they were doing. The whole point is, and this happens in the clothing industry all the time, let me do something controversial and then go, oh, golly gee, you didn't like that? And you're all talking about my product. Oh, okay, I'll take it off. But, oh, look at all this free press I got. And then I'll put sold out on it and make it seem even more popular.
That's exactly my point, is they didn't remove it. If they really thought that they messed up and it was some sort of accident, they would have taken it off their site and been like, oh shit, like I didn't even realize that it could be interpreted that way. But they left it on their site and they said sold out, and they don't say like, yes, this is not acceptable, we don't condone rape culture, we want to promote consent through our company. They're like, sorry if anybody was offended, like sorry if I hurt your feelings.
And it's because in the fashion industry, there's many a times where people think that, as you mentioned, posing controversy is going to drive their sales. We've seen Urban Outfitters. Remember the Kent State shirt that was like blood stained.
Yeah,
and it was like,
and they had the Auschwitz shirt.
They had that promoted. I think Dolce & Gabbana had slave shoes promoted.
They keep doing it.
Like,
yeah.
So it happens more often than not. I mean, I would like to think that that's not what their intention is, but as you mentioned, They're maybe looking for controversy, and it's all about how it's interpreted. And as I mentioned, even if they have all these different examples, or it could be to empower guys to make up their mind on other decisions or anything else, if there's the slightest implication that this would, someone would see this who's been involved in such a tragic situation, it would pose that negative reaction. And even young men who are supposed to wear this shirt might think that that's going to relate to them when they're talking to girls. That's just not acceptable. That's where they need to have a more of a
exactly like the Bud Light advertisement that said take no out of your vocabulary, right? So it's supposed to be, maybe we're thinking like, oh, it's like, yeah, trying to promote some sort of excitement or trying new things or whatever they might think it is. But when you're in a society where 1 in 6 American women are either attempted or successfully raped, and 3% of men, yes, we have a rape culture. You can't have these sorts of messages out there that perpetuate that.
So, Hannah, I actually think this is much worse than the two examples you gave, because in the Budweiser case, there's a completely understandable other meaning, right? Now, you still shouldn't do it because, the other meaning is not necessarily a good one. I get that line of thought, but I don't think Bud intended that at all. So, in this case, they know the meaning. Yeah. And in the clothing industry, as we talked about, this is something they do on a regular basis to stir up controversy and stir up sales. It's almost part of doing business. So when you intend it, I think it's 1,000 times worse. And then in the Yell chant, now that's a terrible chant, but those kids thought that they were being clever and stuff like that. This is business executives sitting in a boardroom thinking, how do I profit off of getting people pissed at me for seeming to condone rape? That's a business decision you made? That's a pretty shitty thing to do. Yeah. And to try to profit off of that is pretty gross.
Yeah, I mean, they say no press is bad press. I would say that promoting anything that's sort of rapey is bad press.
Yeah, and so, I mean, look, when these companies keep doing it over and over, I think it's fair to say in a free market, you should take that into consideration when you're buying your clothes. Is it a company that thinks, hey, we'll make a buck off of rape, right? Or in the other case that Francis mentioned, we'll make a buck off of slavery. Yeah. Right? Well, that's not the kind of company I want to support.
No. Agreed.
All right, let's keep going.
A New Mexico State University student and self-proclaimed nice guy has written and posted a letter to all ladies that he posted on dorm bulletin board, which prompted a rebuttal letter as well as some very creeped out Twitter messages. Now, the letter that he wrote to all ladies says, okay, ladies, I get it. You don't want a pleasant evening chat. You don't want a gentleman to walk you to your car. You don't want a friendly dude to help you carry your groceries or hold open the door or crush the life out of other men that would do you harm. Fine.
Whoa. That escalated quickly.
It escalated very quickly. Fine. Fear the good guys. I guess we'll just have to suffer through watching you get broken over and over by the scum you think you love. But I want you to know it's not easy and it hurts to see you fall. Give the good guys a chance to help you be less afraid of the world. So he posted this on the dorm bulletin board with black duct tape, which I'll get to later. Now, a girl posted, her name is Megan, she's 22, posted a rebuttal letter, and I'm just going to read you a few excerpts from that. She said, if you want to play the good guy, you need to rethink your intentions. If you're only doing it for gratification, then you aren't being the good guy. Did Batman give up on Gotham because people weren't thanking him for saving the city? If you want us to be less afraid of the world, then change the world, don't change us. Now, as I mentioned before, people also took to Twitter. One girl said, dear creepy entitled men, posting a public flyer about how you're nice probably means you're not. And lastly, terrifying couldn't be less creepy even if it was written on human skin. So I personally have a lot of feelings about this, but
I
I'd like
imagine.
to give you guys the floor first.
I've got mixed feelings, so I can't wait to hear from you guys. Go
The
ahead.
best reaction was Edwin's there when you're reading through like the step by step, and then when he said the part was like, I can imagine like a Casanova being, I'll walk you to your car, I'll open that door, I'll crush that guy if he says anything to you. Like he just went from 0 to 100 way too quick for me. But nonetheless, the thing about this is it reminds me of like a kid, right, who feels obliged to get something because he's doing something which is not for the real reasons in the first place. So he's playing by the rules, so he should get his rewards. Like he's doing these things that he has been taught is to be a nice guy. So I should get my reward at the end, which is for me to eventually get the girl. He's probably the same guy in a bar who will go up to 1 million girls and try to get with them, and then at the end he'll be like, they were all sluts anyway. I didn't really want them. That's the exact same
ding,
guy.
ding, 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 ding. Yeah, I completely agree with you.
Okay,
I'm
first of
interested
all,
for the mixed feelings.
every once in a while we reference Edwin, and people don't see him on camera, so they probably think we have an invisible friend, right? Edwin's our stage manager. Okay, so now on to this note. Here's why I say I have mixed feelings.
Okay.
So number one, against this guy. Okay, look, dude, you want to get laid too. Your intentions are not any better than the scum that you're writing about.
Right.
They want to get laid. You want to get laid. You just have different strategies. Okay. So don't get too bitter about it. All right. Number two, if you're trying to make the case that you're a nice guy, don't write a super threatening letter like, oh, the scum that you're sleeping with, I'll crush their soul. But date a nice guy like me. That letter, I'm with you, Hannah, read super scary. Yeah. Right? And you mentioned the duct tape.
The duct tape just adds a whole other creepy layer.
I will wrap them in this duct tape, and they'll see what nice is all about.
Can you just imagine him writing it late night in his dorm room?
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
Ferocious.
Okay, now having said that, I get the frustration behind it, okay? Because, now this will be interesting, we'll see if we disagree or not. Do women like bad guys more? Now, that is an enormously broad statement. The answer is yes, okay? Now, what it is they actually like, I like how I'm speaking as if there's no women on this set. Let me tell you what women like, okay?
Take it away, Jake.
Okay. They like confidence, but the bad guy often has a lot of confidence, earned or unearned, deserved or not deserved. And the guy who's shy, okay, and that's not necessarily mean that you're nicer, but you're shyer and you feel nicer, feels so pissed. And yes, since that guy has more opportunity, sometimes he'll have a relationship and then move on, and then the girl will be hurt, and then she'll be like, why can't I find a nice guy? And the guy in the corner who's shy is going, over here, right here.
I'll crush him.
Right. Well, I won't crush him, but I mean, I'm right here. Right? So the guy who's shy, I feel his pain, right?
Yeah.
And so, and it's not like there aren't, guys who are jerks to women, and you tell me there's some women don't love that?
So I'm sure there are some women who are attracted to the bad boy, right? Mm-hmm. So I want to comment on your comment, and then I want to get to my comments about this letter. So the first thing is I think there is this notion where nice guys finish last, and if you watch some think tank videos, we have some studies that prove that's not biologically true. Now,
think tank that.
So now I want to get into this letter, because I think this letter, at first you're reading it and you're like, okay, so I kind of get where he's coming from. Maybe nice guys finish last and that whole notion. But no, this letter is extremely offensive and it's extremely demeaning. It undermines women's agency. It undermines women's ability to defend themselves. And also, just because women don't want you doesn't mean they don't want a pleasant evening, a gentleman to walk them to their car, help them carry their groceries. Maybe they're just not into you. But that doesn't mean they don't want a nice person. And that doesn't say anything about society at large. Maybe you're just not getting the girl at that time, and that's okay. And you keep doing the nice things that you're doing, because you will find the right girl, but maybe you haven't found her yet, and that's okay. But it doesn't give you a right to make this statement about all women and saying you don't know what you actually want. You're gonna fall on your face, and you're gonna keep being afraid of the girl because you don't want me.
So I really want to clarify some things that I think we get wrong as a society. So first of all, of course there are many different kinds of women. So my wife's best friend loves when a guy teases her, right? My wife hates that. So if you're going to be a jerk to her and tease her, she got no interest. She's going to drop you in a second, right? So if I tease her too much, she's like, joke is not funny if it's about me. A joke is funny when it's about you. So women are different. Women are different. Of course, men are different. Women are different. And like I said, I think we're mistaking shy for nice, which is not necessarily the case. Yeah. And we're mistaking outgoing for jerk, which is not necessarily the case either. But I think there is an underlying here phenomenon here that I think is true for not women, but for all humanity, which is if something is readily available, a lot of us go, I can get that anytime. If something seems like it's not readily available, that's fleeting, that can go away. Come back. Yes, I said yes. I mean yes, right? And so that's the jerk, non-jerk phenomenon you're thinking of. But it isn't about being a jerk. It's a matter of, does the guy look confident and feel confident enough that you like, oh, well, if I don't get him, somebody else is going to. And it's the same thing applies for women and men when you reverse it, right?
Yeah. I get exactly what you're saying as well. And I think it's a good distinction to make between shy and someone who is trying to be nice, but not for necessarily the right reasons, right? So this guy, an example, looking at this case, he, by a nice guy terms, he means someone who's not intentionally being a dick to try and get what he's entitled to. That's what I mean. And trust me, I've been on both sides of it. I've tried to be the nice guy and the shy guy, and then sometimes I'm like, I jaywalked, but they never caught me. I'm a bad boy. Come get me.
Wow, that is extraordinarily dorky.
I tried to go in between it.
You out-dorked me on that one.
But here's the thing, if you're naturally a nice guy, you don't have to be like, oh, I'm not going to do this for you anymore. If you're naturally a nice guy, you're just going to do these things out of the goodness of your heart.
Nah. See, you're being like too grand and wishing that the world was more ideal. Look, but you're right about one thing.
I hold doors open for people, and I help. I pick things up when things fall. I'm not trying to get in their pants when I do it.
Yeah, I know, but that's because you're not a guy.
No, guys, I have this conversation so much with my girl as well. It's like there's always an ulterior motive to guys. That's just the reality, I'm afraid. Like, yes, he may seem genuine when he's opened the door, but even if he's with another girl, his mind is always working in that way. And sometimes it might be different. There might be different examples where it's a different case, but to me, that's just the way guys are kind of taught to think. Now, nonetheless, I'm not saying that every guy who doesn't think this way is a jerk. Everyone thinks that you need to be the bad boy to get to a girl. But when it comes to chivalry and men that like to perform that, they're always thinking about that. I in my point of view, I think.
Yeah. So, but that partly proves Hannah's point, though. But first, let me defend guys even more. So, look. Hannah, it's hard for women to understand how hard it is for shy guys, okay? And like Francis, I've been there, right? So you're thinking, oh, you're a talk show host. I know you, Cenk, you rant and rave. You're the least shy guy in America. That's not true. Especially when I was younger, with girls, I was the guy sitting in the corner of the frat party going, golly gee, why don't they like nice guys like me? And I was a nice guy, right? But it was mainly because I was shy that I wasn't getting the girls. And for that person, when they see the guy walk in and go, oh yeah, I fucked her, then I did her girlfriend, and you're like, what the fuck? Why are you going with that guy? It's so frustrating, and you got to understand that frustration.
No. I totally understand this, and I'm not sort of getting on guys' case at all for this. And in my personal life, I've always dated the really shy, really nice guy, and so I have nothing against nice guys. What I have against is people who are nice and then entitled to something because they've been nice. That's my issue with this.
So that's the part that I really agree with Hannah on.
Yeah.
Nice guys, I know, again, I've been there. You're just using that as a strategy, and it's not the right strategy. Because you feel like, well, if I'm nice, why don't you have sex with me? Oh, so you wanted the sex. You weren't nice to be nice. You were nice as a strategy to get laid, and it turned out to be the wrong strategy. Again, I've been there, brother. Okay. Now, that doesn't mean you should be a jerk and go spit in people's faces. What it does mean is understand what's actually working, the root cause of what gets women, men, whatever it is. But, it's a little bit, yes, the sexes are different. So I would, especially for guys, is confidence, right?
Oh, no doubt.
Yeah, and that confidence you mainly get, and this is a way oversimplification, but by the ability to walk away. So, okay, you want me? Great. You don't want me? Don't care at all, right? And so you don't have to be mean to people to have that kind of confidence.
Be confident in your niceness.
Okay. I don't know if I go that
way. Okay. I'm trying.
Okay. All right, we're out of time. That was a hell of a show, though. All right, fun for everybody. Now, here's what you guys need to do. Apparently, you need to go check out Think Tank for all these clever videos I keep hearing about. Okay, youtube.com/Think Tank. And Francis does a great job in sports with all the sports. But my God, if you care about football, okay, I dare say one of the best analysts
in the country.
Perhaps the world. Okay.
Potentially.
Well, look, all these other folks are coming to Francis to get his analysis. And it's not just TYT Sports. So check out youtube.com/TYT Sports for some of the best sports analysis there is. All right. Thank you guys for joining us. Thank you for watching. And I can't believe we don't have a debate to cover tonight. But we do have a members only. We'll talk to these guys, maybe get a little bit more of Francis' backstory, all for the members so you can meet him a little bit better. That's tytnetwork.com/join, and that's where we'll have the post game.
Bye-bye.
I don't.